So let's start the final part of the project, which is the dialogue action. And to do dialogue, of course, I need somebody to talk with, and we're going to use the globby prefab that it is available in the project. So I've already added it to the to my scene, and I'm going to set it up now, and I'm going to start by creating my globby item. Globby, and globby's ID is 4. His name is globby, and I cannot pick it up. And the text, hey, that's globby. He's the coolest. Okay, and I can pick up. No required items since I cannot pick globby up, and then I go back to globby, and I'm going to add the item controller script to it and set the globby item. Let's see if that is working. Oh, what I think I'm missing the text box controller script on globby, so let's add that as well. The text box controller. The text box for globby is this one. The canvas is this one, and that should make the I'm globby text disappear. Okay, cool. Let's see if we can look at globby. And I'm gonna click. I'm gonna go towards him. Hey, that's globby. He's the coolest. Okay, that's working. Fantastic. So globby is set up. So now let's start doing the, just move my player a little bit closer to the road. And we'll start by creating a couple of scriptable objects. So I'm going to create 2 C# scripts here, one called dialogue and another one called dialogue node. And let's start editing it by editing dialogue node, and our dialogue node is a scriptable object, and it contains let me think, a public string speaker, and that's the name of the game object that's going to speak this line. Then it contains, of course, the line, and it will contain a link to the next node in the dialogue. Okay, so that's dialogue. So let's open, I'm sorry, that's dialogue node. Let's open the dialogue scriptable object, and let's erase this, and let's just do scriptable object, and this one will contain a public dialogue node first line and an ID. I think that, oh, of course, we need to add the create asset menu to this and to dialogue node as well. Cool. So now we have the 2 new scriptable objects created. So let's start by creating a dialogue. And now, just to keep things organized, I'm going to create a folder here called player globby dialogue 1, and over here I'm going to create, so first of all I create a dialogue node. Let's call it player globby 1 1, and the speaker is the player. The line is Globby, I'm your biggest fan. I wish I could create cool stuff like you do. And then we're going to create, let's duplicate this one and call it player Globby 1, 2. Now who's talking is Globby, and Globby is gonna say Globby, glob, glob, Globby. And let's put it between asterisks, and the translation goes, you can. All you need to get started is a good idea. And then I'm going to duplicate this again. And it's the player talking again, and the player says, sounds good. I'll find an idea and get back to you. Cool. So this is line 1. So the next line here is line 2. And this is line 2. The next line here is line 3. Okay? So I have the 3 lines in my dialogue. I'm going to create the dialogue itself. Let's call it player Globby. And the first line is line 1, 1. Okay? And we're going to keep ID as 0. Now let's create another dialogue. So I'm going to create another folder. Let's call it player Globby dialogue 2. And I'm going to create a dialogue node. Let's call it player Globby 2, 1. And the speaker is the player. And I'm going to say, here you go, Globby. I got an idea. So this dialogue is going to play once the player uses the light bulb on Globby. So to 1, here you go, Globby, I got an idea. And then Globby is going to say glob, 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 Globby. Great. Let's create something amazing together. And the player says, yay, can't wait to get started. And glob goes, he goes glob, which means yay. Not the most riveting of dialogues, I admit, but it will do. So the next line from 2, 1 is 2, 2. The next line from 2, 2 is 2, 3. And the next line from 2, 3 is 2, 4. And how do I call it? I called it player Globby. Let's rename it to player Globby 1 so we can have here our dialogue player Globby 2. And the first line is 2, 1, and the ID is 1. Okay, so now that we have our dialogues ready, in the next video, we'll start creating the system itself.